Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of July 12th, 2026. The theme of this week is basket case, and there are three things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that I want to make you aware of a configuration you may hear a lot of astrologers talking about, called Barbault's basket. The late French astrologer André Barbault, who was famous for predicting World War II as well as the COVID pandemic and is considered one of the best mundane astrologers, identified a significant planetary pattern associated with this pivotal moment in history where we're at right now. At the heart of it is what I'm calling the Cosmic Wedge between Uranus and Gemini, Neptune retrograde in Aries, and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Uranus and Pluto are in a flowing trine, both in air signs. Air has to do with people, information, ideas, while Neptune forms the third point, creating this little triangle wedge of energy. A trine removes all its restrictions and allows the symbolism of the planets to express itself freely. Uranus brings disruption, breakthroughs, innovations, and sudden revelations. Pluto exposes what has been hidden and transforms systems of power. Neptune begins pulling back the veil on illusion, confusion, deception, and collective dreams. Gemini and Aquarius are air signs dealing with people, communication, ideas, and networks. Aries add themes of conflict, courage, military matters, and decisive action. And right now we're seeing this cosmic wedge, and it stays in orb for the rest of the decade. And Jupiter in Leo is in the picture right now, activating the cosmic wedge and making the pattern the Barbault basket. Barbault viewed this period with enormous transformative potential, but we have to remember that sometimes a major event or series of events creates a collapse of an old structure, but that collapse isn't the end of the story. It's what allows people to pick up the pieces and build something stronger, healthier, and more sustainable than what existed before. I called this year the Great Unraveling to the Great Reimagining. And the image I've been getting about Saturn-Neptune meeting together, and this happened in February, starting this new 35-year cycle, is a glass ceiling shattering into a million pieces. Something reaches a breaking point, and once it does, there's no going back. What emerges afterwards can be fundamentally different. But there's a profound question here. What kind of future are we building? And as the configuration is activated, we're seeing long-standing tensions around identity, nationality, race, heredity, belonging move closer to the surface. Across Europe and the United States and South Africa, immigration and national identity have become defining political issues. Some movements are promoting ideas of ethnic or cultural homogeneity, while others are pushing for greater inclusion and diversity. We also saw racial animus erupt around the World Cup, including an incident when a Paraguayan senator made racist remarks directed at a French player of Cameroonian heritage. astrologically, this is exactly what outer planet configurations often do. They don't create the prejudice, but they can expose what has been simmering beneath the surface. Neptune retrograde pulls back the veil. Pluto reveals the hidden power dynamics, and Uranus shocks the collective into seeing what was previously ignored. We are building towards July 20th when Jupiter in Leo opposes Pluto in Aquarius exactly. They're both at 4 degrees, a degree of foundations. And I've recently learned that this aspect is sometimes called the gambler's curse. Jupiter wants to go bigger. Pluto intensifies everything it touches, and together they can coincide with overreach, speculation, market excesses, or the exposure of risky decisions that were made behind the scenes. A story that comes to mind is Nigel Farage from the UK is stepping down from his position, and so people will have to re-elect him. So he's taking this big risk politically. Collectively, we're entering a period where multiple stories will unfold at once, and some of them may start to come together in ways that blow our mind. Technology, AI, crypto, financial markets, powerful networks are some of the things I'm looking at. Another storyline I'm watching is the continued unfolding of the Epstein saga, along with the broader questions about influence, compromise, hidden systems of power. So expect truths that have been previously buried coming into public view. So this basket configuration, and Barbault did not call it Barbault's basket. This was named by another astrologer. It's not simply about disruption, it's about evolution. But evolution doesn't mean automatically we're going into a positive direction. Human beings have choices. Are we evolving towards greater separation? And we're seeing signs of this where people are divided by race, nationality, and identity and kept separate. Are we evolving towards a deeper recognition that despite our differences, we all share a common humanity? And you can see this energy showing up in your own life. You may experience a breakthrough after a period of uncertainty. A truth may become undeniable to yourself, and psychologically, when you realize it, it may be hard to accept, but this is what happens when shadows come to light. Something that seemed to fall apart may actually be creating space for something more aligned to emerge in your life. Things are going to go quickly this month, and there will be several major stories unfolding at the same time. This is why it's so important to stay grounded, slow down, try not to multitask, verify information before reacting, and be a witness to what is coming to light. I'm holding on to the hope and the belief that on the other side, after this difficult period, we will be in a better place. If you're looking for a meaningful gift or a little something for yourself, I highly recommend Otter Spirit crystal bracelets. They're beautiful, high-quality pieces that I wear every day. Each bracelet comes with a card explaining the stone's intention, correlation with the zodiac and chakras, and a mantra, making them both gorgeous and educational. Use my code Celeste20 to save 20% off your order, or Celeste30 to save 30% on offers over $99. They're a wonderful way to bring a little more intention and beauty into your day. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Mercury will go Cazimi on July 12th at 6:25 p.m. Pacific time. The word Cazimi comes from an Arabic term meaning in the heart of the sun. Mercury is retrograde meeting the sun at 20 degrees of Cancer. Because Mercury's retrograde, the energy is more internal. Think of it as a moment of illumination where you may suddenly understand something you've been reflecting on for a while. And those insights may center in on home, family, your past, your emotional patterns, what truly makes you feel safe and secure. These are all topics aligned with the sign of Cancer. It's a wonderful day to slow down, journal, meditate, pull an oracle or tarot card. Pay attention to the conversations you have, the dreams and memories that surface. Traditionally, Cazimi is described as sitting at the foot of the king and asking for a favor. Symbolically, it's a moment when Mercury has direct access to the sun, bringing clarity, insight, and sometimes special permission or favor. We've seen this symbolism play out in current events. A recent example was the report that the U.S. president personally called the head of FIFA to ask for a player's red card to be overturned, and the request was reportedly granted. And while it didn't happen under the exact Cazimi, it illustrates someone with direct access to authority asking for a favor and receiving it. Now, remember, when planets are retrograde, the actions we take can be a boomerang, and the president getting involved in this was very unethical, in my opinion. And the boomerang came back and hit him in the face because the U.S. lost the game against Belgium, knocked out of the World Cup. And a lot of the conversation is about how the president cursed the situation by interfering, and that he is a curse on sporting events. Lots of people have brought up how the Knicks lost the game that he went to. So watch for stories like that collectively, especially if someone tried to be nasty to someone else and something boomerangs back at them. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this senator as well for Paraguay. She may get Mercury retrograde Cazimi story where her visa to France is revoked or something like that. This one is less about asking someone else for a favor because Mercury's retrograde and more about getting clarity from within. But watch out for hurling insults because they can come back and smack you in the face. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that we have a Cancer new moon on July 13th at 21 degrees and 59 minutes of Cancer. And I'm specific about that because this new moon falls on a world point. The cardinal world points are at 22.5 degrees, and so about a degree on either side. And they're associated with events that receive widespread attention or have global significance. This isn't a quiet new moon. It has the potential to coincide with stories that capture the world's attention because it's on a world point. It's also conjunct Mercury retrograde that has just passed through its Cazimi. So it's like Mercury gathered insight while in the heart of the sun is now bringing that information into the collective conversation. We know that Mercury retrograde reveals what's hidden, so pay attention to important investigative reporting, new disclosures, or information that changes the narrative, particularly about Cancer themes, homeland, families, history roots, security, and housing. Another thing to note is that Venus is activating the Cosmic Wedge before Jupiter completes Barbault's basket next week. Venus is in Virgo, the sign of her fall, emphasizing discernment and practicality over comfort and ease. She's just separated from a square to Uranus. That means there's already been sudden shocks, reversals, or unexpected developments about Venusian topics like relationships, diplomacy, peace agreements, money, resources, or values. And at the same time, Venus is sitting at the apex of the yod, this chart pattern, also called the finger of God. And Venus is receiving pressure from Neptune retrograde in Aries and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. They're both at 4 degrees at the base. Now Venus has moved to 5, so something's already happened. And a yacht often feels like a course correction because Venus is quincunx those two planets, and quincunxes are adjusting aspects. So notice if you've been forced unexpectedly over the last couple of days to rethink what you value, what you're investing your energy in, emotionally and perhaps financially. And things that are happening this week could get really amplified next week when Jupiter completes the basket. The Sabian symbol for this new moon is a woman awaiting a sailboat. To me, this speaks of longing, anticipation, and waiting for something hoped for to arrive. It carries themes of expectation and dreams that may or may not match reality. Sometimes the Sabian symbols are mind-blowing. The Odyssey, the epic where Penelope is waiting for her husband Odysseus to come home after the Trojan War and is weaving her design on her loom and pulling it apart to keep the suitors at bay, opens for wide release on July 17th, 3 days after this Cancer new moon. So in line with the astrology. On a personal level, ask yourself, what am I waiting for? Am I taking meaningful action, or am I simply hoping my ship will come in? Collectively, this symbolism also raises questions about idealized futures, speculative expectations, and narratives people desperately want to believe. One image that keeps coming to my mind, I've been talking about this since last year, is the Jenga tower. It looks stable until one critical piece is removed, then the entire structure shifts and sometimes collapses. There's lots of news about how AI is not living up to its expectations. We could be going to the AI bubble bursting that could be happening with part of this Barbault basket. Every new moon opens up a 27-month cycle called the moon phase family, and you may see pivot points every 9 months that are part of a larger story. These are great dates for planning. You can put a pin in each one and give yourself goals. The new moon, where the sun and moon are in Cancer at 21 degrees, is on July 14th, 2026. The first quarter moon of this cycle, where the sun is in Aries and the moon is in Cancer, both at 23 degrees, on April 13th, 2027. There can be a course correction or a need to take action from something you started now or a story that began now. The full moon of this cycle is a lunar eclipse where the sun will be in Capricorn, the moon in Cancer, both at 21 degrees on January 11th, 2028. And the last quarter moon with lessons learned, the sun in Libra, the moon in Cancer, both at 18 degrees on October 11th of 2028. This week's podcast is titled Basket Case, inspired by the 1982 cult horror film. The movie follows a young man who carries his formerly conjoined twin in a wicker basket as they seek revenge on the doctors who separated them. It's a story about hidden connections, secrets, and something unsettling that has been carried out of public view until it's finally revealed. I chose this title because I've been getting intuitive symbolism around conjoined or Siamese twins in connection with the broader Epstein story. So that's my own symbolic impression, not a factual claim about this case, although I wouldn't be surprised if we see something coming to the surface about experimentation. The imagery of two beings joined together also speaks to entanglements and the idea that what appears to be one story may actually be inseparable from another. The 2026 Lunar Planning Guide is a digital, fillable guide that walks you through each moon cycle with themes, major transits, and journal prompts so that you can stay aligned with the energy. And beyond the moon, it includes all the key astrology for the year, the retrograde, sign changes, and major planetary events that shape the collective story. If you're looking for a clear, practical way to stay organized and grounded, this will help you track your intentions and make sense of the shifting energies in 2026. It's only $22 and the link is in the show notes. On Sunday, the word of the day is hereditary. The Cancer moon begins at 3:46 p.m. Pacific time. Cancer is the sign of home, family, foundations, and ancestry. It also rules the breasts and the stomach. A great day to do a body scan. How are you feeling? Go head to toe. This is the day that Mercury's retrograde at 20 degrees of Cancer at 6:25 p.m. Pacific time. That's a great time to just stop, do a meditation. It can just be a couple of minutes. Notice any insights come to you. Maybe write some notes. The Cancer moon is square Neptune in Aries, so your dream life, Neptune rules our dreams, could be very vivid around this day. On Monday, the word of the day is discernment. Venus and Virgo squares Uranus and Gemini, both at 4 degrees. This is the day Venus forms the yod where it's King Kong's Neptune retrograde in Aries and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at the base. And all of this is at 4 degrees. 4 is a foundational number. So it'll be really interesting to see what comes up. Is there something exposed around relationships that are rejecting of certain people? Because with Virgo can be very critical and sorting. And like when Hitler came to power, Mars was retrograde in Virgo. So there could be something about racial or ethnic dynamics that comes to light. And on this day, the Cancer moon squares Saturn in Aries at 14 degrees. There's something confining, restraining. Saturn can reject and exclude. It could be a big story about a school that's rejecting certain people or something like that. And it's coming from the past because the moon in Cancer meets Mercury retrograde on this day at 20 degrees. And with this energy, the temptation may be to criticize, especially someone you love with Venus and Virgo, react suddenly with the square to Uranus, or feel emotionally burdened with the moon in a square to Saturn. So can you think about discerning what truly deserves your time, energy, and care? Is this worth saying? How will it be taken? Do I want to get in a fight? The yod suggests that a careful choice to redirect your path could save you a lot of headaches. On Tuesday, the word of the day is DNA. This is the day of the new moon at 21, almost 22 Cancer on the world point. The Leo moon is at 3:34 p.m. Pacific time. Leo moons often coincide with something that's dramatic that will get our attention. It's a fire sign. And the Leo moon squares Chiron and Taurus at 0 degrees. This is the first time the Leo moon squaring Chiron. Now that it's mooned into Taurus, I get Maury Povich saying, who's the father in my head? There can be big stories about DNA coming to light or something about whose child is this. Notice if you hear these kind of stories or if a body comes out of the ground and DNA evidence is used to figure out who the person is. The moon will meet Jupiter and Leo at 3 degrees. The person could be a celebrity or royalty that we're looking at. And then the moon opposes Pluto retrograde at 4 degrees in Aquarius. So the people are being made aware of some kind of secret information that's coming to light. I wonder if we'll be hearing about 23andMe or Ancestry.com. On Wednesday, the word of the day is liquefaction. Uranus in Gemini sextiles Neptune retrograde in Aries at 4 degrees. This is huge. The outer planets are talking to each other directly. Sextiles are collaborative. They are an opportunity. And I get with this, solid ground gives way. So beliefs, information, or infrastructure becomes unstable. People could be shocked by what someone says that they had put on a pedestal that just blows their mind, that this admired person would say something so crass or horrible. There's themes of volatility, disruption, shock waves, unraveling, leakages, potential themes of what we can be hearing about. On Thursday, the word of the day is purge. The Virgo Moon begins at 5:06 p.m. Pacific time. Virgo's job is to bring order to chaos. It's a beautiful sign that can organize, categorize. But when it goes into overdrive, it can be analysis paralysis, nitpicking, hypercritical. And the moon meets the south node, which gives me the image of expulsion, emptying out. But notice where there's themes of purges for people who don't meet certain criteria and qualify for certain things. On Friday, the word of the day is catharsis. There's a big emotional release on this day. The Virgo Moon squares Uranus at 4 degrees of Gemini. And so this is some kind of shock or upheaval experienced by a group of people who may be civil servants, people who work for the post office, the rank and file of the military. The moon and Venus meet at 8 degrees of Virgo. So when the moon meets Venus, this can be really nice symbology where the two feminine energies come together. And then we have a waxing crescent moon at 10 degrees of Virgo, where we start to see the light and understand the story of the Cancer new moon. This crescent moon begins at 10:35 a.m. Pacific time. And then the moon translates the light from that conjunction to Venus and squares Mars in Gemini. So there's something that is disruptive. Mars severs and separates. So there's a period over this day where the moon and Venus are besieged between Uranus and Mars. There can be big themes of emotional release. And this is the day Uranus in Gemini sextiles Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, both at 4 degrees. This gives me big themes around reporting or shocking news about group dynamics. On Saturday, the word of the day is scar. The Libra Moon begins at 9:56 a.m. Pacific time. Libra is an air sign associated with balance, harmony, justice, beauty, cultural events. There's something pretty disruptive here underneath the surface. The Libra Moon is headed to oppose Saturn and Aries. And I wrote down, you can leave a mark on a relationship if you are not careful, leaving a scar. Because Mars and Saturn are in a sextile. So be careful. Mars and Gemini. Cutting words. Sextile Saturn and Aries. Aries rules the face, Saturn rules skin. So I could just see someone saying something to someone and the look of horror on the other person's face. So just be mindful. Nothing bad has to happen. It's just if you keep your lip buttoned with Mercury retrograde and you just think those things rather than say them out loud, you can have an amazing weekend with the beautiful connections with the people you love and care for. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.